it's funny, I do quite a bit of non-disclosure work
Yeah, of
because,
course. Yeah,
and
100%. Yeah.
where you can't even claim the work because their designers are claiming it, and but those are the jobs that pay the best, because it's like, well, if you don't want my name attached to this, you're going to pay a fortune for that. So those are good jobs to get when you can get them.
You're listening to Art Heroes Podcast, the show to help you thrive as a digital artist. Tune in to learn how to transform your passion into a career. Get inspired by other kick-ass 2D and 3D artists and find out what it takes to be an art hero.
Hi guys, welcome to the show. This is Maria JD. I'm your host and I'm really excited about starting this episode because on episode 19, today we're meeting Tomas S. Wittelsbach. Tomas is not only super well known in the industry as the expert on jewelry, but also Tomas worked on big titles like Big Fish and Jurassic Park 3, and Tomas has done everything that a 3D artist pretty much can do in the space. So with his loads of experience, he's currently teaching around 700 students at a time. I don't know how he does that. And at this episode, he's sharing a lot. I really hope you find it useful. Let's get going. All right, Tomas, we're now live. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Guys, everyone, welcome again. And this is Tomas Wittelsbach today, and all the jewelry that we can, all the jewelry information. Tomas, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Tomas, we were just chatting before we started recording this podcast, and you mentioned how much content you have in gigabytes and terabytes about making jewelry. How much was that again?
109 terabytes. Or 109, 109 terabytes. Yes.
That's all your live streams.
And no. That's mostly models and one set of backup of the models, and mostly content. Really not. I'm not. All my streams are saved through Pixelogic and through Twitch, so none of that's actually on drives. That's just models.
That's just models. Oh my God.
And research,
Lots of research. So when did you actually start working on with jewelry?
So I started jewelry at about 2000. Well, Big Fish was my last film. I think that was 2003, 2004, somewhere in there. And then I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I had a huge warehouse space and I kind of partied for a year. I didn't really do much. We just hosted after hours, and well, needless to say, that it was a very fast year or a really incredibly slow one, depending on what day it was. But so then I was like, okay, I might as well do this. So on the first Pirates of the Caribbean, I made some skull rings and stuff, and people were like, oh, you have to make some skull rings. You have to make skull rings. I'm like, you're an idiot. I got a real job here. And then when I left the film industry, I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And I wanted to leave LA, and it just so happened the guy my mom lived with fell through the ice and died in Northwest Wisconsin. And so I went there for the funeral, and my mom was pretty tore up about it. So I was like, well, you know what? I'll just move here and hang out with you. So now I'm living in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin. And I'm like, okay, that was an interesting idea. Maybe that was a little impulsive. And so I discovered Matrix, which is the jewelry program that sits on top of Rhino. And they had a mill set with it because there wasn't really buying printers for home at that time. And unless you had $25,000, of course. But
easy.
And, and so I bought the mill and I bought the program, and I sat in the middle of BFE, neck deep in snow, nowhere, and taught myself ZBrush, or taught myself Matrix. And then I went back to LA to visit maybe a year and a half later, and my friend David Krentz, who is a very well-known dinosaur sculptor, and he was a character designer at Disney, and he was my roommate at CalArts. And so he showed me ZBrush, and I was like, oh my God, this is the future. Okay. So I bought ZBrush, and 16 years later, I'm now using ZBrush a lot. So it was sort of a decision, well, what am I going to do? And I knew people wanted the skull rings. You know, I'd been asked to make skull rings. So I was like, well, I'll just make a bunch of skull rings. So it all started with skull rings.
Gosh, this is insane. And so, what was the main thing before jewelry, like movies and all, like for decades?
Yeah, I worked in, well, I did fine art sculpting coming out of CalArts, and then I went right into the film industry because CalArts had a really tight tie to the film industry. Tim Burton was one of our alum, and that whole little mafia was out there. So I worked on Hook, freelance, didn't quite make my hours, and then I think Congo, the movie Congo, I made my hours, joined the union, and it was about 10, 11 years, something like that, whatever that turned out. And I worked in the film industry. So.
And what made you leave the whole thing? Because that's kind of the way where many artists would love to head and would love to see themselves in, you know, like big titles.
Yeah, so basically it was a couple of things. One, I got to the top of where I would go as a sculptor, right? I was leading films. Okay, so that's it. You know, I was fairly young. It wasn't like, you know, I was like, okay, so this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I was like, no, that's not going to happen. I'm like, this is going to get boring. Because I have that sort of OCD overachiever thing where, like, if I started, I got to be good at it, or why bother doing it? So I finished. I was good at it. I was like, okay, I'm leading films. And then my friend was a production designer, and he was like, look, you know, I'll take you on as an art director, you know, so you don't have to go through a lot of the steps. I'll bring you in fairly high in the art department stuff, but you're still going to have to work for, you know, like 5-6 years before you really start getting projects that you're going to enjoy. And I was like, well, do I really want to start at the bottom again? And I really want to work through all these assholes again? And I mean, Hollywood, I mean, all the films you've seen about Hollywood being a horrible place are jokes. Hollywood's a horrible place. As bad as it seems, it's a lot worse. And my last film should have been a great film. I mean, I was working with Tim, but I hired a guy, and he did everything in his power to undermine me and make it a complete horrible shit show. And I was like, all right, you know, I'm done. I was just sick of it. And I did a commercial, and he was working on a commercial afterwards, and he died on set. And I was like, oh, it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. And then I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, well, you know, I'm kind of turning into a horrible person. It's like, I need to get out of here. And so I was like, you know, you have to get to be that person, or you're not going to succeed, because people will do everything in their power. Once you're on top, they will do everything in their power to destroy that. And I was just like, okay, you know, what am I going to do? And I bought the place where we rented it out to clubs, you know, and so I did
Nice.
that, like I said, for a year. And then I was like, okay, I actually need to do something. Because, I mean, I had a lot of savings. You know, I was making a lot of money. And so I had plenty of savings. So I was just jerking around until I was like, okay, fine, I need to do something. And that's when I moved to Wisconsin and really set down doing this. You know, it's
Right.
But yeah, Hollywood was great. The money was great, and it's horrible. I mean, when they say you lose your soul, it's kind of true. It's a horrible place.
All
if you
right.
want to be on top, you know.
Gosh, sounds great. Like, that sounds like so enthusiastic, and it's just like the place where everybody would love to go, right?
Well, it's funny because the money's alluring, you know. I mean, I was
100%. Yes, of course.
over $11,000 a week take home, and that was 20 years ago. You know, I mean, it's a lot of money, and yeah, it just got to the point that either I was going to work for a lot more money and become more horrible a person, or change, and I'm not the person who could just go take jobs with people. I do have that OCD achiever thing. So I'm like, no, I'm not going to jump over. I'm done. And so,
Amazing.
yeah.
So what is the typical project that you work on now? Like, these days, what's your typical, activity during the week?
For the last few years, I've been trying to do sort of these sweat equity things where I charge very little, like, pay my bills and I'll do this and then we'll split the proceeds. You provide the money and the marketing and all that, and I'll provide the product. And so those are slow going. But basically right now I've been doing, like right this second, I'm designing a line for this fashion designer. The brand is called Marvo. And he has really good, like his line is well established fashion wise. So getting the jewelry line in there, all of that marketing has already been done. So I have faith that once we've got that going, that'll be so basically we discuss sort of what theme he wants. I generate the parts, we look at it, he edits it, he looks at it, edit, blah, blah, blah. And we just kind of build a line that way. But it's tricky because we started, I'm going to say September last year. And we've gone through 3 completely different styles. It started out as sort of like French Gothic-y stuff, sort of chrome heartsy stuff. And then it switched to Navajo 60s biker stuff. And now it's Navajo 60s biker stuff and trippy hippie stuff. So now it's the Navajo stuff with smiley faces. And so it's really fascinating trying to work with someone else's design.
And brand.
Yeah, and you're just like, okay. And so I do that a lot. That's what I've been working on mostly. And I tend to help quite a few people who are friends. They're like, oh, Tomas, we need this piece, and I'll try to do that. Or, I spend a lot of time with students calling me and asking. I'm a huge resource of a huge wealth of information because I can't say no to people. People are like, well, how do I do this? And I'm like, well, here, let's just Skype. It's easier for me to show it to you than send you. It'll take 10 minutes for me to show you this as opposed to you spending 7 hours looking at videos that don't apply to anything, so
well,
a lot of that.
forget like 70 hours researching the right videos and then 7 hours looking at these videos, and then distilling the information for probably another 77 hours.
When I go, look here, push this button, rub it like this, ta-da, that's all you needed to know. Great, you go. So it's
right.
Interesting because I probably have maybe 700 students at this point out and about who are actual students. And then,
wow.
Like I've gone like to Tiffany's and other places and, so places I have non-disclosures with because they want to still be, no, we make things by hand. I'm like, well, I guess technically you do. You use ZBrush. So, it's funny. I do quite a bit of non-disclosure work.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Where you can't even claim the work because their designers are claiming it, and they're, but those are the jobs that pay the best because it's like, well, if you don't want my name attached to this, you're going to pay a fortune for that. So those are good jobs to get when you can get them,
Yeah, no, I can tell. So basically for you these days, it's in between designing jewelry for other like brands and jewelry makers and like teaching and mentoring students. And have you tried like actually creating your own like jewelry line?
Oh yeah. I have like my work is out there floating right now because I've been doing a lot of work with other people trying to get a solid manufacturing facility where I can send work to and know that my work's hard to make. I'm excessively anal about everything I do. And so it's trying to get it to be right is very difficult. And so my business partner, Tony Rodriguez, he's really the jeweler behind me. We met when I first came in, and there were these handful of people that were in the matrix world who were like, holy cow, you need to be making jewelry. And because I'm a sculptor. I'm not a jeweler. I'm a sculptor who makes jewelry objects. And so I approach it very differently. And if you're a jeweler, you're like, oh, well, wall thickness has to be this. And, oh, prong thickness has to be that. And I'm like, well, no, let's try this. And
Exactly.
I've been doing it long enough that I know that there are places you can get away with it and places you can't. But when you were trained with those rules, it takes a long time to say, okay, well, let's try something else. And I had a relationship with the casting house in Chicago. It's a big casting facility. And they took, when I was first starting, they took on my work. The guy who owned it was like, hell yeah, we're going to make that. And the things we thought would be problematic were easy. Things that we thought were going to be super easy were hard. And you're like, oh, wow. You start to realize that once you come out of the computer and go into casting, it's voodoo. Casting is voodoo. Unless you've been doing it your entire life, you have an entire catalog of every cast you've done, you never know how it's going to turn out. The humidity in the shop changes, the temperature. I mean, it's weird. It's pure voodoo. And so
Wow.
I learned a lot with having incredibly talented casters do my work. And it's one of the funny things about students is everyone wants to do everything in their garage. I want to do my own casting, and I want to do my own printing, and I want to do, stop.
Learn but I guess also
learn how to design.
We're talking about different levels of quality. I think it's one thing if you want to test something, and if you want to just see how it looks like as a shape, just physical object.
Oh, without a question.
But then perfection is a totally different story.
Yes.
When you make something completely that is just unique and is sellable and buyable and likable
and repeatable
wow, important.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. It's anyone can make anything once, because you don't have to make a mold of it, right? You print it, you can get someone to burn it out. I mean, we can burn out insects, and get the hair on bees' legs in a casting once. You're not making that mold and redoing it. So, that's a tricky thing. And I would say everybody needs a printer. Buy a printer. End of story. Because nothing until you're holding an object in your hand. And especially with rings. And I when you're doing critiques, you see people doing these things. And it's like, okay, well, you do understand that you made a pendant with 8 samurai swords sticking out every side. Well, okay, put that against your chest. Okay, now have your friend come up and give you a hug. Oh, great, you've just impaled 2 people. Not realistic jewelry. It's all you're going to do is hurt somebody. There was this infamous ring, and I was working at a place called Green Lake Jewelry, and they do mostly bridal. And this woman wanted this dragon holding this big, beautiful diamond. And so I the little horns
seriously, a dragon on the jewelry?
Oh, yeah. Okay. With horns and a big pointy tail. And so I had the horns, and I went from the horn all the way back down. So it looks sharp from the front, but it's not a spear. And they yelled at me, and the tail was the same way. I was like, look, you have to sign a piece of paper. I'm not going to let this go out. This is dangerous. These are needles, and no, brides are horrible. I'm just going to say bridezilla is truism. Brides are absolutely insane. They're insane things. Once you're married, I think hopefully that changes. But until that marriage day, you're crazy. You're not a rational human. You're a thing called a bride. That's not a human. It's a lunatic whirlwind tornado with razor blades in it. Just forget it. And so, this is that thing that represents their love. So, they're always right. And you're just like, no, I'm not. You're going to have to sign a release form saying that I told you this is dangerous. And they did. And at her wedding,
tell me this. Can't wait. Okay.
She's crying, and she wipes her nose, and those 2 little needles catch the inside of her septum and tear her septum, and she is bleeding profusely all over her nice white dress at her adieus. So they came in, and she was screaming and yelling, and then I just went over, picked up the folder and held it up, and I was like, look, you know what? sorry, we had this conversation. That's on your back, sister.
Amazing.
I was like, no, you lunatic. So working with people is always hard.
Yes. But this is so true about there's all these details in jewelry. Well, actually, funny enough, this is my engagement ring, and it's a 3D print because my husband happens to be a guy from the industry. So there is this thing, like, I don't know if you see, there is a pointy wing, and actually in the very beginning, this wing was sharp and pointy towards the bottom. I literally had to take my polish and because
it's a death trap.
It is a death trap. Like, it's just like after a month of like scratching and just like a lot of self-harm involuntarily. It's just,
if you're a masochist, that's cool. But, and if you don't mind losing anything silk, if you wear silk, it's dead because you've pronged it and you've destroyed yourself. And sweaters. I just call them sweater traps because you're going to destroy any sweater you put on thereafter.
And I can imagine it's just like one of a million problems with jewelry that you will need to solve.
Yeah, it's amazing because, like when I was doing large stuff, or you're like, okay, well, you do have to think about weight bearing, and you do have to think about, oh, is it dangerous, or blah, blah, blah. But jewelry is crazy. It's like, if I milled everything out and I'd wear the piece and I'd mill it and wear it. And like that first skull ring probably took me probably about 6 months until I had the design. That came pretty quick. But then trying to get it to where when I wore it around the house, it was comfortable. And it's just silly things like, where in that skull does the band sit? So how far is the chin sticking out over your knuckle? How far is it sticking above to the top knuckle? What's the maximum size you can get with it being a comfortable everyday wearing ring? And it was a lot of investigation and a lot of trying, and that's where own a printer, because you have to be able to put it on, wear it, feel it, touch it, look at it, because no matter what, the thing inside the computer is not a 3D object. It's semiotics. It's a signifier of a three-dimensional object, but it's not 3D. And so you're not ever going to get realistic lighting reflection. You're never going to get real depth of detail. You're never going to be able to tell wearability. And so, over the years, you start to be able to identify what's there. But until you've put it on, worn it, and thing about jewelry is, if you make something that sucks, that's super sharp and cuts the webs of someone's finger, they're not going to give you another try. You've lost that customer forever, and so that it's a really completely weird, different market, and jewelry is one of the most insanely personal things there are. People buy jewelry as sort of like signposts in their life. It's like every piece of jewelry you buy represents something, because it's like, oh, well, I needed to go with that dress for that event, or oh, we're in Cancun, I'm going to buy this dumb silver turtle, but that's going to it's going to remind me of Cancun every time I wear it. So it's a really bizarre, it's one of the few true interactive art pieces, because it's not really jewelry unless someone's wearing it. You can have jewelry in a museum, and you can make something that you'd never be able to wear, but that's not a piece of jewelry then. It's a piece of sculpture, because it's not jewelry until it's on the body. And so it's a fascinating puzzle. It presents far more puzzles than just the sculpture does. So that's why it was really compelling. I never thought I'd make jewelry. I had never had a desire to make jewelry. And
have you ever designed anything for yourself? Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, no, even for myself. I don't wear rings. I mean, I have a
it's hard
$3,000 monitor right here. Scratch the hell out of it. I'm not going to abuse my poor Wacom like that. No, I'm not a big jewelry wearer. I have earrings, but
that sounds nice, actually. That sounded nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a good story about that. Never mind.
Okay.
It's funny because, once again, I'd never, even my earrings were purely a weird business decision. My friend wanted, I used to have really long hair, like down to my chest, long hair, because I could put it up. I'm really a utilitarian, put it in a ponytail. Great, it's done. And he asked if he could shave my head into patterns and pierce my ears. And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And so he gave me this weird leopard pattern that came up into this big Gerber baby Q thing in front. And they punched big holes in my ears. And, this is the early 90s. So big earrings were not, it was more like a circus freak thing at that point. It was not a thing you saw every day. And so do that, and I went back home, and my friend and business partner was like, what are you doing? I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, we have a Disney pitch tomorrow. And I'm like, oh shit. Because Disney at that time still had a no facial hair for their employees. Like, men could not have beards or mustaches at the time. Like, the company said no.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And so I walk in looking like a circus clown. And, I have beautiful suits and nice shoes. And, I know how to present. And we went in, and we were the second ones in. And Disney used to be absolutely sadistic about this. They'd bring everyone in who was bidding on the job, and they'd make you sit in the room with the other competitors. So you knew who you were competing against. And then you had to sit and wait, and they'd come and announce who won.
Oh my God.
Oh, Disney's the devil. They're evil. And so we're the second ones to go in, and they just looked at me like, what is wrong with you? And we'd come out, and, we're sitting. There were probably 9 or 10 people there. We're in the bathroom, and Tom was the guy who was the project manager of the thing, and he came in the bathroom. He goes, oh, you are a machinating motherfucker. And I'm like, what could you mean? Because I have no idea what he's talking about. So play coy, right? What?
Yeah.
And he's like, you came in and you looked like a clown, and then you knew what you were talking about. So in our minds, you went from asshole to, oh, very competent person, where everyone else came in, and if you're dressing the part, they expect you to know what you're talking about. So any little hiccup or dent is a hit against you. Not every good thing is a thing. So they're just looking at knocking points off to see who's the best, where we came in and we were at 0 and we added points.
It's all about managing the expectations.
Right. And so we go in, and he's like, and every person who comes in, we compare to you now. You are the bar. And he's like, he goes, you're all getting this job because now we're looking at you and knocking points off from you. So everyone's initially going to be, and I was like, oh, well, great. And I kept my ears pierced, and I shaved my head because I couldn't run around looking like a leopard baby.
That would be fun, though. That would be absolutely amazing.
The dyed yellow Fu Manchu that glowed in the dark, and it was definitely a thing. But
God.
The early 90s, yeah.
Oh my God. So who were your first models for jewelry? Because I assume you printed as well, when you designed the jewelry. And who are your models now? If you design something, if you print something.
Yeah, well, my original jewelry were those skull rings, and I hand carved those. That was all hand carved waxes. And then when I did this, I was like, oh, I'm going to do jewelry. It was matrix, and I milled it. I used a milling machine. And then, now everything's print. I've been printing for, decades. One of the first models I ever made, we printed, but that cost me almost like $400 at the time, and was on a solid state machine. And it, thing is, 20 years ago, solid state machines, same machine it is now, and they're almost perfect, but they start at $25,000, go up to almost 50.
Yeah. No, 100%. And so like what material do you print in now? Like do you have just like one printer or it's a variety for different materials? How do you go
Well,
about that?
so we have a solid scape machine. So that's purely wax, and you don't support it because it builds its own supports that you just wash off. So you don't have to worry about supporting. And then we had a B9 for a while. Now I have Form Labs, the Form 2, working on a Form 3. I really want the big Form 3. So working on that. But I think as far as like entry-level printers go, Formlabs is killing it because their material sciences are just amazing. What they're doing with the resins and stuff. And I don't think they're going anywhere. A lot of the smaller companies, you get out and you start to compete for a while, but can you really carry that company? Are you still going to innovate? And so I get yelled at on the stream, on Pixelogic stream all the time because people are like, that's not a cheap printer. And I'm like, that's a dirt cheap printer, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, we have an Envision Tech that's almost $220,000. So $5,000 is dirt cheap. And now they have the new ones. There's a whole bunch of them that are in that $300 to $1,000 range. And I've never used any of them because they're not a true 25 micron. And most people are like, well, I don't need that. Well, fine. I'm talking about things you can make money on. I'm not talking about printing, dragon toys for your kid. I mean, this is something that's going to hold up. It's going to print. It's going to have the quality that you can use it as a professional printer. And I think Formlabs is really that ground level professional printer.
Okay.
And so
that's like the
and so,
typical like recommendation that you would give to people.
Yeah, I would suggest getting a Formlabs. I mean, they support their product. Once again, it's tied to MIT, so they're tied to the MIT New Materials Labs. So they're actually getting free research done there. And they've had third round investments, so they have more money than God. So they're a good company. They're a solid company. There are a number of these new printers, and if someone wants to send me one, I'd be happy to try it out. But I get a Formlabs free, so hey.
That's it. Yes.
And it's a good product. And I see other stuff that's okay. I just think that having a true 25 micron printer is important because your surface resolution. And thing is, if you're just building like little figurines and stuff for yourself, you don't care if those surfaces are perfect. You don't care if they burn out easily. You don't, and Formlabs is doing a lot of good research. Like their first castable was an abortion. It was horrifying. It didn't burn out well. Their second round works much better. They're coming out with another, a new castable that's more wax. So the more wax you get in your resin, you get better burnout. But all resins have the same problems. They're not wax. So if it's an SLA machine, it's resin. So you get thermal expansion, you get, micro gas boil off during the burnout. There are lots of technical issues that come with using resin. And that's why SolidScape's great, because it's an additive printer and it is wax. It burns out perfectly. You don't have any of those issues. So, but $25,000 starter price,
That's it. Yeah. So like, what is the actual, role of 3D printer in life as somebody who makes jewelry? Is it just to, to what extent is it possible to test the scalability of a piece that you're creating? Like, how accurate is that? And, what are the use cases for you? Like when
Sure.
how frequently would you actually print? Like when would be the first print?
I print all the time. Print all the time. So the castable is a slightly more expensive wax or resin. It's about $100 more than some of the other resins. So there's a resin called Pro Gray that I use quite a bit. They now have some new tough resins that they just came out with that I haven't tried yet. So I print first in these mechanically, how would you say it? Resins that support mechanical joints, right? So if I have a hinge or a clip, I can actually build that and see if it works, right? It's tough. It's not going to fall apart. So I print on something I can work on that, like when I have clips, if I have, you know, chains, you know, they have to be able to function, hold up to daily wear. So I use their Pro Gray, and I assume I'm going to switch to their Tough because they have a Tough that's kind of flexible that I like. And so I do everything in that base material first. That just lets you look at it. How did the prints come out? And luckily, the even in some of the engineerings, it'll print at 50 microns, and that's plenty of detail to at least see what's showing up or not, right? And I tend to then print it in the castable wax. But when we're going into production, we'll use the SolidScape. And then what we'll do is we'll make a silicone mold off of the SolidScape model. And then we'll actually use standard casting wax. We do wax injection for that, so you don't have to deal with, you get shrinkage in parts and things like that. And if you know your wax, you know what your standard shrinkages are, so you can use that, you know, because I think we are at about 2.5% shrinkage from model to finished part.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know there is this level still.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. But it's a lot better if you're just making a master part and then making a silicone mold off of it, because then you only get the shrinkage from the wax injection, and then your investment, you can get a little shrinkage there. So yeah, depending on what you're using, you get shrinkage rates, and then you just add it to every model, so it doesn't matter as long as you're using the same place.
Yeah. Well, still, it's like a lot of testing to be done. So all of this testing.
A lot of testing to be done. Yeah. I mean, you got to think I probably print, like I'll do the first print, and that is just to look at the part, you know, what's it look like? Does it do what it's supposed to do? Does it hurt? You know, did I forget, oh, it has antlers, maybe I should take those off, you know, or whatever. And so the first one is just purely, did my details show up? Is it what I think it should look like? And then you look at it, you measure it, and you decide what you need to change. So then I'll make the second print, which is usually for mechanical fidelity. You know, is it actually doing what I want it to do? Is it moving how I want it to move? Does it fit how I want it to fit? And then I'll do a third print, and we'll look at that. Then you cast it. And now you have to measure the casting.
Oh, yeah.
And then you change your print size because that casting is never going to be right the first time. And so you then, you know, go back, do it again.
Yeah. So,
you know, you probably have, you know, a 6 to 8 phase from design to production, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And what's nice about the computer is it allows you to pull out some of the traditional ones, because you used to have to sculpt it, cast it, look at it, rehand sculpt it, cast it, look at it, oh, rehand sculpt it again, cast it, look at it, and you might have to resculpt it again. Where now you just change the little part you want. I mean, it's really cut a lot of iteration work out of the original process, but it's still, you know, it's fairly arduous. I mean, like if you're, once again, if you have your Etsy shop and you're just making things and you make it, you get it cast and you put it out there at whatever size it needs to be, who cares? You know, I mean, it doesn't matter because you're going to sell whatever's there, you know. Now, if you need to make that in, you know, 16 different sizes from 5 to 13 by half size, you know, you can't afford for those not to be right.
Yeah.
You know, because every second that someone has to do during cleanup adds time to your production process.
Definitely. Well, I guess it's also like, it's not only like different use case scenarios. I guess you can always start with just an Etsy shop. And then as you learn the skill and as you get better, you understand the sizing, you understand the differences, the shrinkage, and you can just kind of ramp it up.
What's crazy is if you change casters, you're going to have to reevaluate all of that.
Oh, amazing. That's good news.
What kind of casting facility? What are they using? Are they using injection mold? Are they using, you know, a spinning injection? Are they using vacuum overpressure? I mean, you know, Are they using a new vacuum overpressure compared to an old vacuum overpressure? Is their machine designed to do big throws and they're throwing little single part? I mean, there's just, and that's why I tell all my students, it's like, look, learn to design and then develop a relationship with a casting facility. Because if you're going to try to do it all yourself, you're going to spend years making garbage.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, I want to drive Formula One. Well, I'm going to spend all my time learning to drive a Formula One car. I'm not going to learn how to build a Formula One car. It's like, you have to understand that jewelry is not only interactive, it's collaborative. The people who are successful one-stop shops are people who were raised as children as bench jewelers. So they know all the bench jewelry stuff. They know stone setting. They know casting. They know how to do it. And then they're learning the computer. Because that bench jewelry stuff, the jewelry stuff takes, it's years to learn just one part of it. Like, you have to do 6 months of classes to become a good stone setter. And that's just to become okay. It's crazy. And then it's like, okay, well, do you have insurance? Because if you blow up a $35,000 sapphire while you're trying to set it, oops. I've seen, at jewelry stores, I've seen where they're changing the size. So you put this putty around the stone, or you set the stone in water while you're soldering, right? So the stone never heats up. But I've seen people work on it and then put it in water, because that's what you normally do. You're cooling it down, but they heated the stone up as well, put it in water, blow the stone to shards. And that's that's not a hack. That's a professional who's doing that. And you just forget, you've been working on something. You just, it's like sticking things in your mouth. It's like, I gave myself cobalt poisoning because I used to do watercolors and doing renderings, and I was using really, really good cobalt blue, and I washed it out, and I'd point my brush with my mouth. I gave myself cobalt poisoning. So habit is a dangerous thing.
Yeah.
And if you're ignorant, you don't know that you shouldn't do that. Okay, well,
wow.
Yeah. The whole world of information,
No, completely. And actually learning several worlds of information, it's pretty damn hard, because you don't know how to prioritize, but you also probably will never get to the famous 10,000 hours in each world, because that's just it's just not possible in during a human life at a good level everywhere. So you need to work with people.
Yeah, no, especially in the jewelry world, you really do. And like I said, if you just want to be a crafty little person who's making, and I know it sounds belittling, but that's not what I mean. Where if you just want to make crap and put it out there, great. But if you want this to be your career and you plan to make lines, not just one-offs, and you have to, there's a lot that goes along with that. And you got to think, we laughed hysterically. It had to be 2 years ago. I consolidated all my drives, right? So everything that was a duplicate, I eliminated and, consolidated my drives. And I quick save every 30 minutes. So I have a full running record of everything I do. And that way, if I go into copyright infringement battles, I have an entire history of how that was done, where if you copied me, you're going to have maybe 2 versions of the ring. Well, I have the entire development of the ring. Like that sugar skull, that's the most knocked off skull. It is knocked off everywhere. It's crazy. And if I had enough money to go after these ding dongs, I would. But they're in China and Thailand, the places that are making them, and it's just not going to happen. It's like people who are selling it here, if I go to court, I have 10 years of history on that ring. Actually it's probably 14 years of history on that ring. That was one of the first rings I made, and I can prove it. So this quick save has been in ZBrush for a while now, and so I quick save every 30 minutes. So I have a lot of quick saves, and thus in turn why I have 100 terabytes of files. So we added them up, and I had 88,666 minutes of quick saves, right? Because it was 30 minutes and I just added them up. And we then in turn broke that into years, and it was like a little over 3 years of hours, right? So they had only had QuickSave and ZBrush at that time for about 5 years. So I had 3 of 5 years sitting in a chair. And so it's like, people are like, oh, well, you sleep half your life. I'm like, I don't.
Yeah, apparently not.
If you're a quitter, you do, I guess. But
Yeah.
that's what people don't understand anymore is, Google isn't learning. YouTube isn't learning. You have to do it. There's no, oh, look, I looked it up on the internet, now I know kind of thing with this stuff. It's man hours. It's purely hand working. And I mean, I was a physical sculptor for almost 30 years before I started this. So, there's a lot of sculptural knowledge I had when I was coming into the process. And yeah, it's been fascinating.
Wow. And one last bit that I really wanted to dig in a little bit in terms of designing. You mentioned before that there are so many rules that are maybe need to be broken or need to be more flexible in jewelry, and then ZBrush and sculpting. And so merging the rules of the 3 worlds together. So now when you design or when you mentor somebody on designing a jewelry, what is the base rule set that you would recommend starting with? So is there anything that is I don't know, wool thickness or I don't know, materials? Are there any rules that actually make sense to start with, or it's just purely experimenting with designs and then creating?
Well, there are. I mean, there are lots of rules.
Okay, fine.
And I pay attention.
Oh, that's good to know. That's already helpful.
Yeah. Honestly, I would say, look, what you need to do is get a printer and get ZBrush. And first print things that you can wear, right? And you'll find out the thing is that it becomes very obvious very quick, certain things. You can't put sharp spike things on the side of a ring because if someone shakes your hand, you've now impaled yourself. So the size of the rings need to be thin. I put these big deep V's on the bottom of all my rings, and I call them striking plates because now you go out to bars and everyone has these hard countertops and poured cement countertops and things like that. And you tap that ring on that countertop 3 times and now you've just flattened out your ring, And so there are a couple design things that I use, but honestly, I would say design freely, just design freely. Try to make a beautiful object. Print it. Does it wear okay? And I mean, wear it around, wear that print around, and you'll see where it rubs on you. You'll see where it hits. You'll notice that you keep poking yourself in the eye with it, and now change it a little. So now edit that design. And then you're going to send it to a caster and they're going to say, oh, we have to do this. We can't do this. We have to do this. And then you figure out, don't always give in to the caster because casters are lazy. They don't want to change their process. They want just to be able to plug your piece in right next to another piece. So they want your piece to be, the best thing they can make is a men's wedding band. It's round, plain, ain't got nothing to do with it. They're like, yeah, do that all day. Everything should look like that. They're going to do something that they don't have to hand finish. They want to be able to tumble finish, So, that's where the trick comes in, is finding someplace that'll produce that work. And then after man hours, you're going to, I don't even think about wall thicknesses and stuff anymore. I kind of know, it's okay, that's going to be a problem. And especially, where you really get into problems is when you get into bigger parts and it's thick to thin to thick to thin to thick to thin. So is the metal's going to back up at one of those thin spots. So now, okay, are you spruing to that area? Is that something you can, or do you have to make it in 2 pieces? That's what comes with knowledge as you go on. But I started out as a sculptor and I didn't know a single jewelry rule. I didn't care. It was here, does it fit? Does it look like what I want it to? Like I said, a lot of people were like, that'll never cast. And half the stuff we thought would be really hard to cast worked out. We were like, wow, that was easy. And then just this big dumb skull ring, it should have been super easy. 6 other rings cast that were alike cast. And we figured out that from where we were spruing it, it came in and it created turbulence because this was doing the, and it was just how metal flowed through that ring made it impossible to cast. But the second I changed one little shape, flowed easy. So you have to wrap your head around a little bit of like fluid dynamics.
Okay.
How is the metal coming into this thing? Is it going to create chatter? Because if it creates like a lot of broiling, you get air in your metal, and those air bubbles will stay there, and that's porosity, and that's the problem. So I would say, no, don't think about the rules. Make beautiful objects, print them, and wear them. And I'd make wagers now. There are very few things that you're going to make that can't be cast. You might pay out the butt for it, but that's what. But you can also sell that for more, because that's a thing that's obviously hard to make.
Wow,
So,
interesting.
No.
I mean, interesting and liberating at the same time, when you know that basically the difference in between design is how much it's going to cost you to produce that. But
Yeah,
it's a brilliant design.
You can produce anything. There is nothing that can't be produced. It might have to be made in 12 pieces and blah, 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 but it can be made once. So, you're really having to wrap your head around, what are you going to do with that? Is it just one thing? Or are you really trying to think about how to do production? And if you're really trying to think about how to do production, it's a lot different. I mean, you do have to think about a lot of things, but for the most part, screw the rules, make beautiful things. Because it's really funny, I've been saying this for a while, and as soon as I get my education thing set up where I'll be making a little bit of passive income and I'll only have to do updates of videos like once a year, I really want to just break out and make some other things, because with jewelry, you are in a very, very, very limited canvas. A ring can only be so big. Bracelets can only be so big. I avoid earrings because earrings have to be super light. You have 12-gram earrings, people bitch and cry and whine about it. I'm like, oh my God, the earrings I'm wearing are 2.5 ounces. It's like, come on. Okay, I got much bigger holes, but I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, come on, guys. So, I don't make a lot of earrings.
Yeah.
Actually, one of the startups we did was women's earrings, but we wound up casting them in steel because steel is a lot lighter than silver.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So we could get more earring out of it,
Yeah. But like I love that because there's so many like it's just like problem solving. So just there's the design, and then like let's see how we bring it to life. And it is not like we can't, let's just see how, and through material, through implementation, maybe, I don't know, like so many things can be done so that it finally is wearable and likable.
Well, and it's crazy because that's what kept me doing this for 16 years. I mean, like I said, I never had an intention of being a jeweler. I mean, it's nothing that I ever thought I would do. And what I liked about Hollywood was that problem solving. Every film was a new thing. Every film was something interesting. There was a puzzle tied to it. And, we haven't even brought up stones. Now all of a sudden, oh yeah, I designed this for an 8mm stone. I can't get that stone in 8mm. Oh, oh, here's a weird cut opal. It's like, oh, well, I have to build around that bezel. So, it's a never ending, puzzle show. And it's cool. Like, I have no intention in the world to want to learn about, I mean, I know about casting, and I know about, like, if I had to make a ring, I know enough about the process, I could do it, but I have no desire to do it. I mean, there are people who are brilliant at what they're going to do. I don't want to go through all that crap. I just want to learn how to design and then let someone else do that other work. And, sadly, that's one of the things that we're really missing in this country is affordable quality casting. And with this education platform I'm setting up, one of the things we're going to try to do is set up a casting facility that's tied to support the students, where we're not necessarily trying to make the money off the castings, but that becomes, we have other schemes to pay for that. But, you know, where we can have a place that, you know, that you have, where you can, you're going to get
Produce
as affordable casting as you can get, and it's going to be, you know, as high quality as there is. And that's teaming up with a, you know, an equipment company and this other stuff. And then hopefully setting up a marketplace, because that's the other thing, is trying to be able to sell your crap, but where we have a Jutsi, where, you know, it's, but unlike Etsy and things like that, where, you know, you don't know where things are manufactured from, you actually have a place where you don't have to stress about the manufacturing. We'll stress about the manufacturing. And then we'll have a marketplace where, oh, look, this is stuff that is other people's designs, but they're getting it manufactured through the same hub. So the real goal of this whole education thing is to create a one-stop hub for new artists. Because, you know, trying to get jewelers to adopt ZBrush has been like this 16-year quest of mine. And, you know, ZBrush is kind of taking hold in manufacturing now. I was the first person to ever get a three-dimensional jewelry model out of ZBrush and into production. It was not a manufacturing program then. It used to be a game and film, you know, asset program. It wasn't meant to export, you know. And it took a lot of work. And I remember putting my first little silver ring up, and everyone was like, holy cow, that's a beautiful rendering on the ZBrush forums. It was like, oh, that's beautiful. I was like, well, no, I made it. Look, and I posted the picture of the milling machine. I was like, that's silver. And the two offices of ZBrush, Gentle Giant and some other company, called me within 4 hours of that post, and they were like, how'd you do it? And so, you know, from then it's been this quest to turn ZBrush into a manufacturing program for me. And yeah, you know, now you see the weaknesses and you see the environment, and you look at the industry and you're like, well, you know what, we can change this, you know. And what's interesting is like this whole pandemic thing, and, you know, you're going to see a lot of these jobs not come back, you know, because there are people who've wanted to convert into automation, but you can't be that prick who, oh, I'm going to fire 3,000 people and use these 2 robots, you know. And I think you're going to see a lot of these jobs not come back, you know, if this lasts for any period of time. And, you know, there have to be new paradigms of how we're dealing with things. And we can create things, we can manufacture things. And, you know, bringing it back local, I think is, you know, something that's a pretty solid model. I mean, you look at the craft socialism movement in England and things like that, you know, some of that stuff is still in business since the 30s, you know, and it's like, you just need to get it right. And I think it's possible, but because, you know, who doesn't want to stay at home and work? You know?
Exactly. Who doesn't? That's what we have to do forced, but, you know, quite happy, right?
It's really funny. I have to leave home to come here to stream.
I know.
I don't have internet.
Oh my God. Yes. Very rare you.
I know. If I never had to leave my house, I'd be so happy. Everyone's like, I know, it's like, this hasn't changed your life at all. I was like, well, I lost like $18,000 worth of work. But other than that, no, I don't, it really hasn't changed my life at all.
Oh gosh, yes. Thomas, so we have a little tradition here of running a quick, it's a 20 question questionnaire. So, and you can reply with just a few words to each question.
She's like, so shut up, you ramble on too much. Short answers, Joe.
No. Yeah. Let's just go to...
Enough, next.
No, of course, busted. Okay, so because then I actually, after the questionnaire, wanted you to tell a little bit about where you're streaming and what time, but before we jump into it, let's just do the questionnaire, and then so that your contacts and everything stays in the very end of this.
Sounds good.
All right, let's go for it. What's your favorite place in the world?
No. I'm just... tough. I'll tell you what, I adore Thailand. Like Southern Thailand is just like one of my favorite places there is. It's just awesome.
Brilliant. What are you listening to while you're working?
Audible books. All I do is listen to books. I haven't listened to music really in a long time.
Yeah, I'm also not the person who can concentrate with the music for some reason. Yeah.
My OCD ties to the linear narrative of the book, and I don't get into loop reasoning, so it's my only app. I listen to books 24 hours a day. Crazy.
Wow. You must definitely beat me on like the numbers per year, 100%.
Lots.
Okay. What's your favorite way to gain inspiration?
Oh, that's, honestly, I look at old art for the most part, or nature. It depends kind of on what I'm trying to get inspiration on, but I try not to look at anything contemporary, because your subconscious can latch on to things you think are awesome, and you really can copy other people's work and not know it. Because you're like, oh, I like that shape. And your subconscious can rebuild things that you've seen. It could have been only once, but your brain's like, no, that was it. That's the one. And you can do it. So I tend to look at old stuff or nature,
Okay. Makes sense. So what's your big life goal after Hollywood? What? Big life goal?
You know what? To create a education platform and hub that can make what I've done over the last 16 years a lot easier for the people around me.
Brilliant.
The education stuff really is. And once again, I never thought I left grad school because I was like, what do I need a graduate degree for? I'm never going to teach. Oops.
Things that we tell ourselves, right?
Bad choices.
Yeah. Okay. What's your favorite drink?
A really, really good boozy stout, or I'm a big fan of, what are they called? Something stormy. It's like ginger ale and rum and something stormy. I don't know what they call the damn thing, but anything with ginger, like real ginger ale and rum, is good.
Okay. Well, that's definitely not Moscow Mule.
Dark and stormy.
Oh, okay.
I think is what it's called. Dark and stormy.
Dark and stormy. Oh my God. Okay. I'm just like adding on my list of ginger ale drinks.
Well, the other thing is, like, up here in like Seattle, there's a place called Ruth's ginger ale, and they actually hand press ginger ale. So like we have some really spectacular ginger ales.
Oh my God. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Once again, like when we can travel, well, anyway.
Yes.
Not going to talk about this.
I want to introduce you to ginger that's like nothing else. It's awesome.
Amazing. Amazing. So what's the first thing that you do in the morning?
Go in the hot tub.
Okay. If you
get my coffee, sit in the hot tub.
That's alive, huh? Okay.
That's awesome.
Of course, yes. What's your backup career?
Oh, there is no backup career. Commit, man. There's no backup. Jump, man.
Okay, love that. What's your recent favorite book?
I listened to a book I think it's called The Sparrow, and it's a science fiction book, and basically they discover radio signals from Alpha Centauri, but there's what the fuck? See, this is what happens to me, my poor brain. A Catholic monk, for God's sake, I can't think of.
Hard words.
The Society of Jesus, whatever they're called. And so he winds up going with them. But so it sort of starts in the future and works back, like it meets in the middle as to like what happened, and the concepts of, so I'm a cultural Catholic. I was raised Catholic. I'm left-handed I'm right-handed because a nun hit me until I used my right hand, So I was raised Catholic. I yeah, I don't know, my beliefs of that stuff. I think you're all silly, but you know, yeah, Jewish Zombie Day wasn't really something I celebrated greatly yesterday. So, um, but it's really an interesting book because it goes through some very subtle stuff about dogma and religion and the perspective of religion. And the other book that's very similar is Ursula Le Guin's Left-Handed Darkness,
Okay.
which is a fantastic book, kind of about, once again, this person is sent to this planet to basically test and introduce them to the wider world, saying, oh, there are other people in the universe, how are you going to act with them? And they keep getting killed, and the one goes back. And the thing is, the gender issues are incredibly fascinating, because you have this person who has this, two-gendered system in his brain, and there are different genders, and how gender works is not the same, and I think that's an amazing book.
Okay, cool.
They're similar. It's about perspective of who you're meeting, and I think that's important because it works every day. We all go in with assumptions, and if you assume, you fail.
Yeah, that's so true, actually. All right, so who are some of your legends, if you follow anyone at all?
Now, who are the people that have inspired
Yeah,
me?
they're like, yeah,
you mean
kind
online?
of yes, it doesn't have to be online. Maybe some of the people that inspire you from the past or from the current, they don't have to be like current creators.
Well, I think that whole, specifically French Art Nouveau, was really my major inspiration of things. I mean, I remember being a little kid and seeing Lewis's work in Chicago, the architect, Louis Sullivan, and then Hector Guillemot, who did the Paris subway stations, and these forms just spoke to me since I was a little kid, and then as that came up, I started sculpting this weird stuff, but I was also like a Ray Harryhausen fan, so it was all this Art Nouveau with skeletons, bones, and weird crap in it. And then Alien came out. My mom brought me home the Omni magazine and the Penthouse, since they owned both magazines, with all of Giger's stuff in it. And so then, because my mom was like, I always thought you were insane doing all these weird tendony things and bones, and so she was like, no, someone made money off of this. Look, I was like, oh wow. And so there's that. Beksinski, he's a painter who's incredible. I dodge, like I said, I avoid most modern creators. I mean, I have friends, but I tend to not. I prefer to work in a vacuum, than in a world of immediate inspiration.
All right. And the last question that I'm hesitant to ask, but since it's a tradition, I'm not gonna, censor it from this edition. It's about the bucket list. Do you have anything on the bucket list?
Oh, that's fascinating. You know what? I mean, I've lived a pretty wonderful life. There are very few things that I want to do that I haven't done. Like I said, finishing this education thing is really the thing that I want to do. I mean, I used to have a lot of money and a lot of time, so most of the dumb things that I wanted to do, I've probably
already been done. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, and now you're kind of like post bucket list. You're like, okay, well, that was all fun. Now what am I going to do? And,
oh my God.
Our family had this whole weird thing about bloodlines and, legacy. And I think, legacy is sort of what I'm working on now. Cause it's like, I know that I can make wonderful objects. It just comes down to, if I can get the education thing up going on its own, I really want to have the free time and the money to be able to just make a handful of stuff that I haven't had the capacity to make, because technology is finally catching up to where things that I've had in my mind can be produced easily. So I guess it's get that over with so I can actually just sit down and make art. Yeah, I think maybe that's my bucket.
Okay.
I would love to just be able to
sounds like yeah. It would be way easier if it was just like, I don't know, like a huge foam party or something. I don't know, but that's probably been done like a million times.
Oh yeah. Oh no. Most people are like, oh, I want to scotch it. Yeah, I've already jumped out of a plane on LSD, and I've done most of that dumb shit. So now, like,
Oh,
let's see.
geez. Hilarious. Okay, so that's finally. Where do you stream, and what's the easiest way to get in touch with you?
Well,
I know that you
Google
do
T.
stream regularly.
Yeah. So right now I stream every Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at ZBrush Live, right? So on
Yeah.
Pixelogic Twitch. And then
if people
stream
wanted to look at pictures of your feet, we can put a link to your Instagram as well.
Yeah, Instagram. I mean, really, if you just Google Tomas Wittelsbach, there's a lot there. I mean, because, and if you, everything like my Twitch and my Twitch is Twitch/Tomas Wittelsbach. My Instagram /Tomas Wittelsbach.
Yeah.
So look up Tomas Wittelsbach, you're gonna find me.
Okay, amazing. And I'll put all these links to the show notes. Yes, so that it's easier for people who don't know how to spell the last name.
Yeah.
Well,
when I lived in LA, like there's the whole cholo trend where they put in big block letters their name across the back of their shoulders,
okay, so you that wouldn't fit.
I always wanted mine like that, except they'd all be like a half inch wide and like 6 inches tall. It's like you can only fit that many letters in. I was like, that wouldn't be quite as aesthetically intimidating. Gomez, it's like no.
Oh my God.
But I don't have that tattoo.
That's all right. Yes. All right, Tomas. Thank you so much. That's been so productive. And thanks for sharing all this information. It's amazing that you just speak about all this. And I really appreciate what you do. And it's not only about art, it's actually about sharing the knowledge. It's huge.
I agree. Because I think that is one of the biggest problems we have nowadays is everyone thinks that what they know is special, and it's not. I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but someone else thought of it too, dude. Get over it. And just, it's better to develop a community of positive creating people than thinking that, oh, I use this brush like this and no one's ever going to learn how to do it if I don't tell them. It's like, now you're just an asshole. It's like, just share the information. And I found, because in Hollywood, that was a big deal. And I succeeded because I was open with my information. And because no matter what, none of you are going to be as good as me at what I do. Now, you're going to be great at what you do, but everyone's scared. I don't know. I feel pretty confident in myself as a creator, so I'm not worried about someone getting better than me. So let's bring everyone up.
100%. I can only build on top of this, saying that there are two mindsets. There is a mindset of being scared, and there is a mindset of growth, and you can be only in one or another. You cannot be scared.
Nope.
Yeah, and grow. You can just choose your way, and you're either protective or you're open. So it's just no way the door is open or closed.
Yeah, because I think I've been successful because, I'll share any information I have. And most people are grateful. So if you have information that I don't know, then usually most people just give that to me. I mean, I understand if you're part of a corporation and they develop software that makes helicopters look like fine. I get proprietary, but that's not just random information. I mean, people get stupid about what brush you use in ZBrush. It's like, really, dude? I mean, come on. It's a brush. Come on, man.
All right. Okay. So that's where we round up. Thanks. And I normally don't go over 40 minutes, but I was like, no, there is no way. This is gold. Okay, Tomas.
And you usually don't go over 40 minutes, but he just won't shut up.
Yes. At 40 minutes, we just started. Okay. Thanks, Tomas. I'm going to turn off the recording. Thanks for coming again. Cheers. Wow, that was quite an episode, right? If you guys enjoyed the show, please give us a like, and in the comments, feel free to ask anything. I'll make sure we pass all your comments to Tomas, and he'll hopefully get back to you because he's really super responsive, and in addition, he's just a nice guy, right? So if you want to say thank you to Art Heroes, please leave us a 5-star review on any podcasting platform of your choice. We really like hearing from you. And tune in next week for more fun and more insights from digital arts industry, and stay safe. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to Art Heroes Podcast. Check out www.artheroes.co for show notes, more interviews, and free tools made for you by our team of mentors. Tune in next week for more inspiration, and keep up the great work, hero.